For questions and comments, please use the chat located in the center of the bottom of your screen. The webinar will begin momentarily. Real ID is a passionate and committed team. Through entertainment technology, we contribute to our clients' social and professional development. We offer a comprehensive service that responds to new challenges and has established our active international presence. We provide our clients with the right balance between their needs and our platform's optimal performance. We seek precise solutions for the continued use of legacy systems and, where appropriate, development of required applications. Real ID has grown thanks to the port and maritime industry's safety and security needs. Each of our modules are managed by a simulated artificial intelligence called Soleil, capable of learning scenarios and finding solutions according to the end user's requirements. Hello, and welcome to this webinar, operated and sponsored by Real ID. For your convenience, please turn your cameras and microphones off during the webinar. For your convenience, please turn your cameras and microphones off during the webinar. The webinar will begin momentarily. For questions and comments, please use the chat located in the center of the bottom of your screen. The webinar will begin momentarily. Real ID is a passionate and committed team. Through entertainment technology, we contribute to our clients' social and professional development. We offer a comprehensive service that responds to new challenges and has established our active international presence. We provide our clients with the right balance between their needs and our platform's optimal performance. We seek precise solutions for the continued use of legacy systems and, where appropriate, development of required applications. Real ID has grown thanks to the port and maritime industry's safety and security needs. Each of our modules are managed by a simulated artificial intelligence called Sole, capable of learning scenarios and finding solutions according to the end user's requirements. Hello, and welcome to this webinar, operated and sponsored by Real ID. For your convenience, please turn your cameras and microphones off during the webinar. For your convenience, please turn your cameras and microphones off during the webinar. The webinar will begin momentarily. For questions and comments, please use the chat located in the center of the bottom of your screen. The webinar will begin momentarily. Real ID is a passionate and committed team. Through entertainment technology, we contribute to our clients' social and professional development. We offer a comprehensive service that responds to new challenges and has established our active international presence. We provide our clients with the right balance between their needs and our platform's optimal performance. For your convenience, please turn your cameras and microphones off during the webinar. For questions and comments, please use the chat located in the center of the bottom of your screen. We will now start the webinar.
Let's see if you can hear me.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our special webinar on the principles of sustainable dredging. My name is Jorge Duran. I am the chief of the Secretariat here at the Inter-American Committee on Ports of the Organization of American States, also known as SIP. And it is my pleasure to welcome everyone participating here. As you know, you don't know, but we're very happy about this event because this is our first ever webinar on sustainable dredging. We've done webinars on dredging before, but we believe that increasingly every day more and more sustainability, environmental sustainability is critical. So we are very, very happy to have 240 people registered from 33 different countries. And out of respect, I'm just going to go down the list real quick. But we have people from Argentina, Australia, Barbados, Belize, Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Estonia, France, Guatemala, Guyana, Honduras, India, Italy, Jamaica, Japan, Mexico, Morocco, Panama, Peru, Philippines, Portugal, St. Lucia, Spain, obviously Surinam, Trinidad and Tobago, and the United States. And to all of you, I bid you the warmest welcome here at this webinar with the CIP. Like I said, my name is Jorge Duran, and my job right now is to give a brief sort of context to this event. And as you all know, the SIP has a technical advisory group, or TAG, on waterways. And this webinar is organized under the context of that TAG. And although dredging is also essential in marine ports that are not naturally deep, and so that means that dredging is vital for all our community. As you know, dredging plays a vital role in maintaining navigable waterways, and these are essential for global trade. However, it's crucial to do this maintenance responsibly, and sustainable dredging practices offer a win-win situation. One side, optimizing navigation, and on the other side, minimizing environmental impact. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have a distinguished panel. First, our dear friend and strategic partner, Calvin Creech, Vice President of PIANC, will provide a foundational presentation on sustainable dredging. Following him, we'll hear about successful practices in action. Rodrigo Portugues, Project Coordinator of Waterways at Antaque, and Bernice, I hope I say this properly, Majavier, Manager of Nautical Affairs of the Maritime Authority of Surinam, will share their country's successful experiences in sustainable dredging. Looking ahead, ladies and gentlemen, mark your calendars. Our strategic partners, EIDC, which is the International Association of Dredging Companies, and PIANC, are co-hosting a conference called Integrating Dredging in Sustainable Development. And this key event will take place on October 17 and 18, again, October 17 and 18, in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And I think this will be a wonderful sort of worldwide event on sustainable waterborne transport infrastructure. So we'll share more of that as we get it. I remind you to be mindful of all the webinars and the events that we will have. Let me make two small commercials. We will have here in Washington, D.C., a hemispheric conference on port security and protection, and this will be held on October 30th, 31st, and November 1st. And then following week in Guatemala, on November 6th, 7th, and 8th, we will have a hemispheric seminar on port legislation, public policy, and regulation. These are all events that are free and that are open to the public, and we will welcome you to attend. Anyways, so I am not going to talk about sustainable dredging anymore because that's why we have three experts with us today. And without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor to Sabi Malnis, our coordinator for this and moderator for this event, but not before I thank our technological strategic ally, Real ID, and thank Martin Santillán, its Director General, for providing us with the platform to do this. And I also extend my thanks to Monica Blanco from the SIP team, who is the person who behind the scenes organizes everything. So thank you both, and thank you, Savi. And without further ado, I'll let you have the floor so you can introduce our panelists. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We'll see you at the end.
Thank you, Jorge, for your opening remarks. I am so honored to have the opportunity to moderate on this panel with the next level experts on the topic of sustainable dredging. As Jorge said, my name is Sabina Malnis, and I'm project manager at the Inter-American Committee on Ports of the Organization of American States, and have been honored with the responsibility by the chief of the Secretariat of the SIP to lead projects regarding sustainable port operations such as this one. As we all know, dredging is essential for maintaining waterways, but must be done sustainably to balance environmental, social, and economic factors. As populations grow and coastal pressures increase, innovative dredging methods are needed to protect ecosystems and support human development. By reusing dredged materials for coastal protection, beach restoration, or construction, we can promote a circular economy and reduce environmental impact. However, achieving sustainable dredging requires careful planning, collaboration, and shift towards viewing dredged sediment as a valuable resource rather than a waste. In this sense, we have wonderful panelists that will talk about this issue and present successful practices. I am honored to present our first panelist and great friend of the SIP, Calvin Creech, interdisciplinary engineer of Latin American programs at U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and vice president to the Americas of PIANC. Dr. Creech is a water resources engineer with over 20 years of experience specializing in inland navigation and port development projects. He has worked on waterways and ports in the United States, Latin America, and West Africa for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Millennium Challenge Corporation, and currently holds an appointment as Fulbright Specialist with the U.S. Department of State. Dr. Creech also currently serves as the Vice President of PIANC, the World Association for Waterborne Transport Infrastructure, associate partner of the SIP, where he represents the Americas. Thank you, Calvin, for being here with us. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Sabina. Thank you to the Organization of American States for the invitation today. I'd like to especially thank Jorge, Sabina, Monica, and everyone that was involved in the organization of this important event, and especially bringing together partners from across the region, and as we've seen across the world, to be participating in this. It's a privilege to be with everyone online today, and I will be speaking on the principles of sustainable dredging from the perspective of the World Association for Waterborne Transport Infrastructure. Before we discuss sustainable dredging, it's first important to recognize the sustainability of waterborne transport in general. My favorite perspective that defines sustainability is really that sweet spot that we see here, where a project or initiative enhances and maximizes the social, environmental, and economic benefits of the initiative or program or project that's being investigated. And I don't mean that we are sacrificing some economic benefits in order to achieve social and environmental benefits. What we really mean by this sweet spot is finding solutions to a problem that really creates synergies between the social and environmental and economic aspects of the issue that is being addressed. And this approach can really only be achieved through what I consider to be the foundation of sustainability, which is good governance. Specifically in the transportation sector, we find that the transportation of goods via waterways and ocean corridors really is the sustainable choice when compared to alternative modes of transportation. According to the National Waterways Foundation, transportation on waterways via barges emit 10 times less carbon dioxide when compared to trucks and approximately half as much CO2 emissions as rail. Also, for each injury suffered in commercial waterways, there are approximately 1,000 injuries suffered in trailer truck accidents. In addition, in the social side, there's so many great initiatives that are ongoing with the Inter-American Committee on Ports and others in the space of gender and social inclusion in ports and waterways, and really great social and equitable aspects ongoing in those areas as well. But also location, where there are locations where waterways can provide opportunities to transport goods. This mode of transportation, especially on waterways, can save approximately 5 times as much economic cost by, for example, 5 times less fuel as trucks. And again, we aren't sacrificing one benefit. We aren't sacrificing environmental benefits or social benefits or economic benefits to enhance the other two when we use a waterway. We really are talking about a synergistic solution to the transportation of goods. So we can clearly see that an investment in waterborne transportation is an investment in the economy, it is an investment in the environment, and it is an investment in society as a whole. Another example of the sustainability of the waterborne transportation infrastructure sector can be seen from our neighbors at the Panama Canal. The investments that have been made at the canal have saved 16 million tons of CO2 emissions in 2021 when compared to alternate routes and alternate modes of transportation. I personally had the privilege of working in Panama from 2021 through 2023, and the canal gives us a fantastic opportunity for a mental paradigm shift when we think of infrastructure investments. Not only does this world-class infrastructure provide economic benefits to its customers and to Panama as a whole, but it also brings significant social benefits to the region. And in fact, the Panama Canal Authority, through its program, significantly contributes to making Panama one of only 3 carbon negative countries in the world. And interestingly, the other 2 are Bhutan and Surinam, who is also represented on this call today. And I just think it's great that 2 of the carbon negative countries in the world are in the Western Hemisphere. I think that's something that we should be very excited and very proud about. So this is our perspective at Pionk. The waterborne transport provides the greatest opportunity for true sustainability in the transportation sector. But maybe you're asking, what is Pionk? We are the World Association for Waterborne Transport Infrastructure, and we are a worldwide network of professionals that provide expert advice on cost-effective and sustainable waterborne transport infrastructure. We're made up of 4 technical commissions, the Maritime Navigation Commission, the Inland Navigation Commission, Recreation Navigation Commission, and our cross-cutting Environmental Commission, who is led by Dr. Burton Swidell of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Vicksburg, Mississippi. We're also the oldest global association in waterborne transport, and we are a partner for both governments and the private sector in the design, development, and maintenance supports waterways and coastal areas. Our mission is to remain the leading international source of waterborne transport-related infrastructure and information in the 21st century. And how do we accomplish this? Well, first, our commissions develop international guidance and best practices through our working group reports. We currently have over 200 working group reports, and if you're an expert in a waterborne transportation subject, including sustainable dredging, we would love to invite you to be a part of our international working groups. We also create a worldwide network of international experts related to the themes of each of our commissions. We also strongly support young professionals through our YP Commission, which is a critically important initiative as it relates to workforce development in the maritime navigation sector as well. And we support countries in transition through our International Cooperation Commission. And finally, we have a strong focus on the connectivity of this network through the organization of international, regional, and local events. But as I mentioned, we have over 200 working group reports, and all of these are available free to Pionk members. And many of them deal directly with the subject of sustainability, dredging, and specifically the subject of sustainable dredging. We have developed guides related to sustainable inland waterways, including the sustainable management of the navigability of natural rivers. This is our working group number 236. So this being under the tag of the waterway group within SIP, this is a really good opportunity to demonstrate how sustainable dredging can be utilized in inland waterways. I had the privilege of serving as the chair of that working group. And one of the important findings of this report is the need for implementing sustainable dredging in dynamic river systems to adapt navigation channel locations within natural river and geomorphic processes. And so it's a really key component to certainly the development of inland waterways. But I'd also like to especially highlight the center report, beneficial use for sustainable waterborne transport infrastructure projects, which describes many best practices specifically related to sustainable dredging. So what are some components of sustainable dredging? How do we achieve that sweet spot of environmental, social, and economic benefits in this area? Well, one key finding and initiative has been the opportunity for the beneficial use of dredged sediments. Historically, the navigation community has discussed dredged materials using, honestly, fairly negative language. We used to use terms like dredge spoils and dredge disposal as if this material were something that we need to hide away and get rid of as fast as possible. But over the past 20 years, there's been a paradigm shift, and we found the immense value of the dredge material itself and have discussed best practices for the beneficial reuse of this dredge material. This material is now used more and more for beach nourishment projects. It's used for barrier islands and to manage coastal storm risks, for example. The material is also used for construction, and it is now even used for the development of measures to adapt for climate change impacts. Sustainable dredging also incorporates circular economy aspects and nature-based solutions. It doesn't just look at the reason for dredging, which is often to increase our navigation drafts at a port or a waterway, but it also looks at the benefits of placing the material after it is dredged. And this allows designers to develop really valuable habitat like the barrier island we see here that was constructed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers through the Mobile District. And these approaches, these initiatives can only be achieved through strong stakeholder involvement and relationships between the public and private sectors. Again, we see the success of these projects are really founded on good governance. So specifically related to this working group 214, the beneficial use for sustainable waterborne transport infrastructure, it was really developed with the following goals in mind. The first was to increase industry-wide beneficial use practices globally in dredging projects. The second goal was to develop strategies to overcome barriers to beneficial use and sustainable dredging. So what are the barriers? What's preventing governments, institutions, ports, waterway managers from implementing sustainable dredging practices? And the third goal was to advance the circularity and sustainability goals by managing sediment as a resource, rather than having the perspective that dredging results in material that just needs to be disposed of. So one example of this initiative, sustainable dredging and the reuse and beneficial use of sediment, is a program that has been developed to meet this aim in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It's a program called Regional Sediment Management, or RSM. This program uses a systems approach using best management practices for efficient and effective use of sediments in coastal, estuaries, and inland environments for healthier and more resilient systems. And similar to the PIONC Working Group 214, this program recognizes sediment as a valuable resource rather than a material that we only want to dispose of as quickly as possible. Also, this program focuses on stakeholder involvement and coordination. And sometimes this even requires significant coordination within a single agency. Historically, decisions for projects that include dredging have been funded through various business lines. For example, for a dredging project alone, the designers may have looked for the cheapest way to get rid of the sediment in order to keep costs down. However, at the same time, there may have been a separate nearby project that was being designed that needed sediment, that required sediments to be procured and placed, for example, for beach nourishment or a barrier island project. If we take the perspective and if we're able to combine these two projects together, the overall cost of both projects would be significantly reduced. So overcoming these types of funding and technical barriers are really one of the keys to the Army Corps of Engineers RSM program. We also, in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, have a beneficial use of dredge material initiative. And this particular program seeks to achieve a rate where 70% of our dredging projects will incorporate beneficial reuse of that dredge material by 2030. This is known as the 70-30 goal. Currently, our projects have about a 30 to 40% beneficial use rate across our enterprise in the Army Corps of Engineers. And therefore, to achieve this goal of 70% of our projects by 2030, we have been really committed to overcoming, again, the barriers that prevent sustainable dredging. And again, this ultimately leads to significant collaboration with our stakeholders. This program, it's an innovative approach to really what is a traditional measure that requires strong partnerships. And this really aligns two of our Chief of Engineers priorities, both partnerships as well as innovation. And finally, sustainable dredging provides significant opportunities for the adaptation and mitigation of impacts associated with climate change, which really is the defining challenge of our time. This opportunity aligns with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, specifically SDG 13, which is related to climate action. Opportunities in the dredging industry include modifying dredging equipment with high efficiency engines, the use of alternative energies in the dredging operations itself. It can include reducing offshore disposal transport distances, and it can also include the restoration of carbon sinks and habitats, such as saltwater marshes and mangrove forests. And I'll end with an example where dredge material is used to reinforce flood risk management levees in the Netherlands. I think that this is a great example. This picture is a great example of how dredging and beneficial reuse of sediments can directly adapt and mitigate climate change risks to a region as well. So many opportunities to really look at how can we reuse, look at dredge sediment as a resource and ultimately use it for various benefits that promote both environmental, social, and economic benefits to a region. So again, I would like to thank the organizers of this webinar, and I provided the following link if anyone is interested in more information related to PIANC and our working groups. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Calvin, for your presentation and for giving us a wholesome introduction of sustainable dredging. Following next is the second part of this webinar, where our panelists will share successful practices from their own countries. We're going to start with Rodrigo Portugues, Project Coordinator on Waterways at the National Agency of Waterborne Transport of Brazil, also known as ANTAQ. Rodrigo has a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Escola Politécnica da Universidade de São Paulo, an MBA in public management from Fundação Getúlio Vargas, an MBA in project management from UNOPAR, an MBA in logistics and port management from the Universidad Politécnica de Valencia, and a master's in naval engineer from Universidade Federal do Pará. He has many years of experience in civil engineering, focusing on ports and waterways, acting on design, budget, and construction. Rodrigo will be presenting now 4 successful sustainable dredging practices in Brazil. Thank you, Rodrigo, for joining us today. You have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sabina. And I gave you a special thanks to our friends here. Thank you all the CIP and OAS people that support us on this and has made this invite available for us. And there's a special hi and a greeting and a welcome greeting to Calvin and Bernice, which is they are with us today for explain. I don't know if you are seeing my screen or not. I'm trying
No.
to, nope. Sorry, just a few minutes. Just let's do it again. So here, and let's do this. Share. I think it's in a small side, yes?
Yeah, it's in a small size.
Oh, yeah, that just I will interrupt it again, and I will just correct the screen here because the computer choose the small one screen, so I have two here, but just oh yes, I think it's now it's gonna be good. Let's try again. Here and is that correct or not?
No, we just see like a screen that's trying to project something, but
Sorry again. Maybe like this. Probably our final test. Okay, I think it's now it's correct.
no, we only see a screen with lines and stuff.
Yes or no? Sorry,
No,
Sabine.
still
I
weird.
will keep my presentation and try to do it again. Okay, 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 okay. Let's do it again. I will do this. I will share my empty screen and just see if it will work now. Sorry. And now, let's see.
No. But what we can do is, while we figure it out, we can let Bernice start and see if you can send us over your presentation.
Okay.
Yeah?
Sorry about that.
That's
Sorry
okay, no worries.
I'll just send. Okay. I don't know exactly what is happening, but I will send to you.
Don't worry, send it to my email and we'll share it. I'm so sorry,
Okay.
everybody, for that. We always know how technology sometimes tricks us, but if it's okay, we're gonna switch to Bernice and then we'll come back with Rodrigo. So we have now Bernice Majavier, again, like Jorge said, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, an experienced hydrographer with over 20 years in the field of marine and coastal surveying. She currently serves as the Manager of Nautical Affairs at the Maritime Authority of Surinam, where she coordinates 3 divisions, hydrography, cartography, and nautical development, and leads a team of experts in conducting various maritime and dredging projects. Bernice holds a Master's in Science in Hydrographic Surveying from the University of Hampshire. She is the coordinator of the Suriname Academy, providing aids to navigation training in collaboration with Yala Worldwide Academy, and the vice chair of the Mesoamerican and Caribbean Sea Hydrographic Commission. In her presentation, Bernice will share her insights on the Suriname dredging project, where her in-depth knowledge and hands-on experience will provide valuable perspectives for professionals involved in development and inland river dredging projects. Bernice, thank you so much for being here with us. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Sabina. Greetings to the CPI and OIS community, and thank you for having me at this webinar. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so
there any chance you can put it in full presentation?
Full presentation mode. Okay,
there you go. Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I'll be talking about the Surinam River Dredging Project. This project was initiated for the safety of navigation, but also for creating a competitive edge in the region and also to develop local content. So this is actually the table of content. I'll be talking about the Surinam River a little bit, the pre-project planning and assessment, the scope and the location, the project structure, the dredging techniques and technologies, the accessibility of the ports, the regulatory compliance and reporting, project financial, economic trends, and future plans. Okay, so this is, for those who don't know, Suriname is in South America, but it's also the green maritime, has a green maritime landscape. So we have a river systems in Suriname, a lot of rivers in Suriname. So bordering Guyana, this part, is to the west. We have the Quarantine River. In the east, we have the Marahuena River. And our main shipping route is the Suriname River, where most of our cargo is transported to and from Suriname. Okay, just to know, Suriname has the issue of sedimentation. Is not an issue, it's actually also an advantage because it serves as a barrier for or a protection for our coastline. Is actually the transport of sediment from the Amazon River coming to alongside our coast. As you can see, the red and the gray area that are the mud banks that are along our coastline. So these mud banks migrate 1.5 kilometers per year in a westward direction. So as you can see, these mud banks actually brings a lot of sediment along our waterways at the entrance of our waterways. Okay, just to have an indication, this is the Suriname River, a picture of the Suriname River and one of the ports. The river is, its width is approximately 2.19 kilometers in the entrance, and upstream it's 400 meters in width. And the length of the river is for the seagoing vessels is 100 kilometers, and for inland industrial vessels, it's approximately 200 meters. To go further, the project planning and assessment. For the project to make a final design, we had to do some studies, so flow and sedimentation model studies, laboratory tests for water, silt, and soil, bathymetric and water level data, and also nautical studies, simulations, just to see if the vessels would be able to maneuver in the circumstances of the river. We also did an environmental and social impact assessment where other studies were done, geomorphological studies, sediment, ecology, water resources, and social. So these studies were crucial to have a balance between dredging, but also establish the framework for environmental management. And we also had legal studies and financial economic studies. Okay, so if you look at the scope of the project, there was a capital dredging project for chart datum 5.5. 5.5, and which includes also maintenance of 4.5 meters. So the dredging project of the Suriname River was conducted in two phases. Phase 1 was 4.5 and then 5.5. 4.5 was for safe navigation and 5.5 was to accommodate development. So, and we also had a maintenance dredging plan for 2 years. So these are the areas you see here, the deposit areas, the three rectangles, or the deposit area. That's actually deposited. The deposit area was chosen to it's near the existing banks that migrate, and we have lots of mangroves there. So it's used to add to the sedimentation in the mangrove area. And the volume of dredging is 1.5 million, approximately 1.5 million cubes. And here you can see the amount per section. So you have different banks. So you have the Outer Bank, the Resolution Bank, Jachlus Bank, and the Dijkveld Bank. So this is the design of the channel. Actually, we took the natural channel, the natural deepest part of the river, and dredged that part to the main channel. So you see it's 70 meters in some areas and 90 at other areas. And the slope is between 1 to 10 and 1 to 3. And the nautical bottom is 5.5 meter at low water, and the consolidated bottom is 5.75 meters at low water. If this is the organizational structure, so as you can see, we have the government of Suriname, that's the owner of the project. The Maritime Authority of Suriname is the beneficiary. We have the engineer as a supervisor, and then we have the contractor, that's the dredger. But to be able to finance the project, we have the financing is by a local bank. It's here. And in order to pay back the finances for the project, we have a user's compensation, and that's being used to pay back the bank. So that's the structure. So if we look at the dredging techniques that we used the trailer suction hopper dredger to dredge. This dredger is able to remove the material, but also able to transport the material to the deposit location. So here you can see the hopper dredger, these two. And we also use the water air injection dredger to do the maintenance. So for the areas that are closest to the sea, we use this method so that the material can be transported during outgoing tide, so low water, to the sea area as well. So here you see the picture of the hopper suction trailer, hopper suction dredge. So here you can see the suction pipe, and then the hull where the material is being dredged to and transported. This is the dredge head that actually sucks the material from the bottom. It not only sucks, but also injects water through water pressure, loosen up the material. I forgot to add that the material in the Suriname River is mostly silt. So it's clay silt, and that's very clingy. So water injection was necessary to loosen the material. Okay, with regards to regulatory compliance and reporting, you see here the different reports that need to be the reporting that takes place. So we have the MMO report, the grievance report, and there's a certain frequency associated with this. You see the erosion control report, that's quarterly. Water quality monitoring report is biannual. That means we do a monitoring of metals and nutrients in the river that is necessary for the aquatic life in the river. Turbidity and turbidity monitoring, that's done monthly. That's done by external party, but the dredger has to report daily as well. We have the aquatic ecology monitoring, that's also biannual. We have the animal incidents report, stakeholders notification report, and the noise measurement report. So all these control measures are in place to actually have us to sustain the environment. If there is anything that's out of place, out of order, it is reported, and we then review which action needs to be taken. As I indicated, we have mangroves, but we also have sea turtles and dolphins in the river, but also lots of fishing activities. So we also have restrictions in place. Certain months we cannot dredge. That's during the fishing spawning period, but also restrictions for capital dredging during certain periods of the year. Okay, so the accessibility of the ports is also important. With dredging, we can have a ship draft of 7.35 to 7.90. That depends on the tide, because we have a tidal river. So all the ships need to take into account the tide. So the capacity has increased. So you see tankers can load much more, and also container vessels and bullock carriers. Okay, apart from the main channel dredging, we also have the port dredging. So it's essential that the ports are dredged in line with the main channel. Otherwise, the project will not be sustainable. Because if you don't use the dredge depth, then the project finances will not be sufficient for paying back the bank. Okay, so here you see the project finances, capital dredging. The total project cost is 38 million. And we have the financing of the bank, and we have a dredging compensation of $6.25 per metric ton. So the dredging finance is then collected in an escrow account, and this is specifically for the dredging project. And the income is approximately 14 million and is based on a 2.2 million metric cargo per year. Okay, so dredging is continuous. Therefore, we do have a maintenance plan. Okay, besides the financials, promoting the new chart datum is essential. So that's why all the nautical products are updated to the new chart datum. So the nautical charts, the ENCs, and all the other documents, but we also promoted the dredging in some conferences and yes, the oil and gas summits. So if we look at the economic trend now, we see since we've dredged, if we look at the green line, you can see a slight increase of the imports and exports going up. Before the dredging, that we saw a decline. That's because the safety of the port was not guaranteed, but now we see a slight increase. Okay, we also see an increase in port infrastructures. A lot of ports are being built and also upgraded. And we also have had cruise ships coming to Suriname. We also look at future opportunities like the oil and gas. You can see here that actually all the oil and gas activities, all the supporting activities were done from Trinidad, but now it's being done through Suriname. And further studies, we're looking to deepening the Suriname River further, but further studies need to be done. We're now conducting the financial studies, so the feasibility study, just to know if we can continue with the project. And then we will do the other technical studies, legal and the Asia. So thank you very much. This was my presentation. Are there any questions? Thank you very much, Sabina.
Awesome. Thank you, Bernice. We'll come back with the questions after Rodrigo's presentation. Well, again, thank you, Bernice, for wonderful presentation. The dredging project carried out in Suriname certainly is very interesting and very useful to learn the in-depth research, the financial aspects, and the structure that entails this project. Especially, it was very interesting to see the machinery that's being used. But well, now coming back to Rodrigo, like I mentioned, he will be presenting 4 successful sustainable dredging practices in Brazil. So I will share the presentation. There you go.
Let's try this time, Sabina. I think it's going to be well.
Perfect.
Okay, so thank you, Sabina. And hi, everyone, again. I hope you are seeing the presentation right now. And here we are presenting the principles of sustainable dredging, focusing on the Brazilian experience in waterways sustainable dredging. You can pass the next slide, please, Sabina. So here is a summary of what we are going to discuss. Basically, I'm going to speak about our Brazilian waterway system. And after this, I will explain about, show you 4 case of studies, 4 examples, 4 rivers that we have this experience, and then we will have the opportunity to discuss this. Please, Sabina. Our waterway systems is a large system. I think it is, I think it's probably one of the biggest in Latin America, and maybe the biggest one, one of the biggest in the world. So we have more than 40,000 of kilometers of navigation potential. So we have a lot of rivers, and on Brazilian responsibility of the federal government, it is more than 40,000 kilometers. It's only on the federal side. We have a lot of other minor rivers, but it's not the case. So consider this 40,000, only 20,000 today is we have the commercial navigation. So we have a huge challenge to transform our matrix of transport, which is based on roadways, in some time, or maybe more equitable matrix. So now we use only 20,000, which is 0.5%. So with this 20,000 kilometers, we are able to transport more than 140 tons of cargo. This I put here 24, but this data is 2023, that last year. And as I said, half of the rivers, that federal rivers, I should say, have no commercial navigation, which is our challenge today. And of course, I think everybody here is aware that our waterway transport is 10%, 10 times more efficient in terms of fuel consumption compared to roadway transport. So I think this is our challenge here to see how Brazil has room, has space to increase, to improve, and to benefit from this. Next slide, please, Sabina. Here we start with the Madeira River. Madeira River is on the northwest of Brazil, and in fact, he starts. He comes from rivers that came from Bolivia and Peru, and the Madeira River today is one of the most important rivers that we have to transport cargo. I put here some specs, some river specs. The navigation length is about 1,000 kilometers. The average width of the river is 1,000, so it's a big river, and he has a lot of sedimentation there. Here I put some other specs as the dry season, the high water season, but just to show you some aspects of this river. About the dredging, we have mainly 3 months of dredging per year, and it costs 10 millions of dollars, US dollars per year. And the volume that we dredge with this cost with this money is 1.5 millions of cubic meters. They are mainly we are mainly using the cutter section dredging, but the last 2 years we use hopper dredge, trailing sucker roper dredge, and it was a really nice experience. I think it was our first here in Brazil, and we have a lot of benefits from this. On the right, you can see our cargo throughput with this in this river. We are around 10 millions of tons per year, and we have a forecast to do 20,000 by 2035. And our main cargo there is soy, corn, and liquid fuel. And here is the main thing. What's the benefits of doing this dredging here? Since we are talking in sustainable dredging, and we are explaining about 3 pillars here: environmental, governance, and social. From the environmental side, of course, we have lower emission of polluting gases using the navigation waterways. But we have another issue where I think it's important to say that in Brazil, we have a discussion about to reconstruct a road on the Amazon. This river serves also to link to our main cities on the north, which is Manaus and Porto Velho, and the government intends to rebuild, in fact, a road there. You could imagine the amount of money to build this road, and in fact, I think this is important to have this road. But a road could be made to cars, to simple cars, maybe some bus, but it's really different to build a road to a car or a bus or to trucks, or heavy trucks. So that's why I think that use this Madeira River is so environmental benefit to our society. We are protecting our forests. We are polluting less, and in fact we have save money from the people using this the waterway. On the side of the governance, of course, we have lower capital expenditure using the waterways instead of build or may maintain some roadway. And in social side, we have lower deaths and accidents by ton kilometers. So I think this is a lot of good reasons and sustainable reasons to do this. In the next slides, we will see some pictures. The first one is the pipeline. It's the rainbow of our cutter suction dredge. Here at the bottom on the left, you have the roper, the roper dredge, the dredge, and on the right bank you have a view of how big Madeira is. So if you take a look at this picture, you will see three convoys, and how the Madeira River is large. And this, of course, this picture is which was taken by helicopter, and you see the sandbanks a lot across the river. So now we are going to speak about the other important river in Brazil. It's Paraguay in the next. Okay, thank you. The Paraguay River. And the Paraguay River, it's a little bit longer, 1,217 kilometers, but the width it's a little lower, so it's a little narrow. Here you have the dry and high seasons, just to know the Paraguay. And Paraguay River is on the border with Brazil and Bolivia, and Brazil and Paraguay. And after the river leaves Brazil, they cross the Paraguay right in the middle, and then get to the Argentinian, and together with the Paraná River, they do the Rio de la Plata, as we call here. Here we have dredging in this area, in this river as well. The dredging aspects here. We have see that. Oh, sorry, I have some. But what I will say, I will correct these numbers, and I will send to you, of course. This is as the Madeira, the Paraguay River. We have annual dredgings, it's probably 3 to 4 months of dredgings, and the costs of it's about maybe 2 to 5 millions of dollars per year, and the volume is correct. We have about 0.4 to 0.6 maybe 0.75 cubic meters. And the equipment, of course, of dredging here, we are talking about cutter section and not rock excavation. Rock excavation is the next one, it's the Paraná. Sorry for my mistake here. But the cargo we are doing there, it's almost 5 millions per year. And last year we have the peak of this. Last year we have transport almost 80 millions of tons through this river, which became important now these years. And we have this huge forecast for this, and this is basically based on the iron ore mining. We have some big iron mines in the border of Brazil with Bolivia, and so that's why. And here you can see the convoy as well. So the benefits here, of course, it's the reduction in fuel consumption, and I have to say that in the dry season, and Paraguay River have suffered with the probably worst 2 or 3 years with the dry season, and all of this, or the most of the cargo of this iron ore have to cross Brazil to the ports of São Paulo and maybe Paraná and Santa Catarina by truck. So you can imagine how the effects on this in terms of roadways, in terms of lives, in terms of polluting, and so far. So that's why it's important to maintain and to do this dredging. Next slide, please. And on the next slide, we will see. Sorry, I didn't. Thank you, Sabina. I have to say two more things. Of course, in the governance benefits, I can see I can say the lower capital expenditure and the lower of course the lower capital expenditure on building a new one, but in this case more in operate and maintains the waterways. And of course, in the social side, we have the decrease of these export products. Next slide, please, Sabine. We'll see here some pictures from the Paraguay. And I think the most important picture is in the bottom on the right side that shows in the high season. So in the high water, we can transport 5 bars plus 4 on the river. So we have 20 bars here full of iron ore, which it's probably 40 thousands of cargo here. It's really impressive. Okay, next one. Here we have the Paraná Tietê River. And as I said, I have changed the dredging experts between these two. So I will correct this after. But river specs. This is a system because we have 2 main rivers here, the Paraná and the Tietê. You have all these specs here, and I think the main thing to say here, besides this of course the river and the dredging specs, is that here we have a river that is the navigation competes with our electrical power. So we have to be choosing year by year, depends on the amounts of water that we have on the system, and because of it depends on the rain, of course, in this case. So we have reservoirs that maintain and the reservoirs have the electric. They are the electric power. They send to Brazil. So in sometimes if you have a lower rains, we have to minimize our reservoirs, and that's made this our navigation impossible. So here we are saying about rock excavation works, and these rock excavation works could permit, could we will navigate with more confident after this rock excavation works. This rock excavation works, it's supposed to do 4 years, as we see, and it's the amount of rock excavation is 0.4 million cubic meters, and the amount of money is about $60 million US dollars. We hope this works could do 4 years, and after this, we think we will have much more confidence on using this waterway. And talking about the benefits, we have, of course, a reduction in fuel consumption using this waterway. And on the governance side, we have lower expenditure on operation and maintenance due to this rock excavation. And on social side, I have to point the job opportunities, because we are talking about some really effort on dredging workings, which is the rock excavation, which use special jobs and special capacities of people. Next slide, we will see some pictures of this. This is the Paraguay, Paraná and Tietê River. And on the top, you can see the shell with the kind of material that we are taking out after the blastings. And this is the last one, Sabina, which is the Amazonas River's mouth, and it's not implemented as well. It's we are studying, in a phase of studying this, but it is a huge problem for us here, because you can imagine in the mouth of the Amazonas River, you have a lot of sediments being transported by the river, and then these sediments have accumulated on the mouth. So the big ships, I have to say, it's for the deep draft vessels, they have to relieve the cargo. They have to he cannot use the whole capacity of the vessel. So here it's important to say that it's not a dredging problem, and we are studying to address this issue by putting some buoys on the mouth, because there is a kind of muds in the water. So we have a lot of sediments, but the cargo of sediments is so high that's almost a mud. So when you do the bathymetry, you think you are on the shallow waters, but in fact you are on the deep water. So that's our intention here, is just to see how we can improve the draft of the vessels, but maintain the safety. Just know the turbidity of the water, and checking on the tidal of the sea and things like that. So it's more, I think it is the most important one in that we're doing in this sustainable dredging, because it's not a dredging as well. It's effectively more to see how we can benefit from our researches, our monitoring, and our knowledge on navigation. I think it is. Of course, we don't have pictures because it's on its third phase, and I really thank you for the opportunity, Sabina. And I'm here just to discussion time and to answer the questions if I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Rodrigo. That was a wonderful presentation. Honestly, it was very interesting to see the differences between the different rivers in Brazil, especially like the amount of time that has to be dredged and the very different issues each river has, right? And the difficulties. But thank you so much. Now we are gonna pass on to the second part of this webinar, which is the Q&A session. I'm gonna ask our presenters if they could share all your screens. Perfect. So I have the first question is for Calvin. So Calvin, for countries that are interested in implementing sustainable dredging practices, what will you say has contributed most significantly to the ability to execute this type of systems?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So first, I would just like to recognize the importance of the shift in the thinking about dredge material. Kind of as we mentioned, even our language has shifted towards dredge material being a resource rather than dredge spoils or dredge disposal, the language we used to use. And next, I would kind of encourage decision makers and port and waterway managers to just look for solutions beyond the status quo. So often, I think the decisions that are made at management levels are based upon, well, this is how we may have done it last time. You know, this is something that we're used to doing it this way. We're used to, you know, having offshore disposal. We're used to using this type of equipment, traditional equipment. And so, you know, this often influences how we ultimately design our overall dredging programs. But I think that there really are some opportunities, not only for more socially and environmentally beneficial solutions that have been incorporated in the past, but also ones that can contribute to a reduction in overall cost of the projects. Especially when we find that sweet spot where not only are we we're not talking about trade-offs of okay, well, this is going to cost more in order for us to be environmentally friendly. We're really identifying where are the solutions where we can identify programs and maybe combine this with other programs, coastal storm risk reduction, for example, programs, in order to combine these into a cheaper solution. And then finally, I would just end by saying, seeking out partners is key. Partners with the dredge industry is really important as well. The dredging industry in many cases is really leading innovations in good dredging practices. They recognize the importance of being able to incorporate sustainable dredging practices as well. So early contractor involvement is a really good approach within that context, but also partners with other government agencies that might be interested in using the dredge material as a resource. And sometimes we even find partnerships within our own agencies are important in order for us to come up with these synergistic solutions. So appreciate that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Calvin. That was a great answer. Next question is for Bernice. So Bernice, how are you ensuring the efficiency and effectiveness of the dredging operations in Suriname?
Okay, so from the pre-planning phase, you have to take certain things into account. And that is, for instance, what type of element, your environmental conditions. So you have to take the technology you'll be using, but also the experience of the dredger. These are important things you should take into account when you're looking at efficiency and effectiveness. Also stakeholder engagement and your cost management is also important.
Excellent. Thank you, Bernice. Next question is for Rodrigo. So, Rodrigo, can you explain a little bit what are the main challenges in sustainable dredging in Brazil?
Thank you, Sabina, for this question. I think here in Brazil, I think it's how in the most of our Latin America, we have a not big enough amount of money. We have not, our government has not enough money to build all that infrastructure or take care of education or take care of our safety and security. And so the government has always to choose where to put the money. So I think the challenge is to convince our decisors and use the most effective way to the money, which is, I think, in the waterway transportation. So I think that our main challenge is to show how it's important in how it's safety and how it's of course environmental benefits and all of this. So I think this is our main challenge this year.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rodrigo. The next question is for Calvin. You mentioned that governance is the foundation of implementing sustainable dredging practices. Can you provide some examples of how good governance has contributed to finding sustainable dredging solutions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so absolutely. As we discussed early on in the conversation, really the only way to achieve many of these sustainable solutions is for the approaches to be built on good governance. But that can mean many things to many people. But the way that I'd like to think of it, or maybe an example or perspective to consider, is what is the reality of a port or waterway manager? The port or waterway manager has an objective to maintain navigation within an allocated budget. However, the port manager is also responsible to ensure that vulnerabilities against coastal storms and climate change is addressed. And so given that sediment is a challenge for one of these considerations, but could be a resource for the coastal storm risk reduction, again, as a solution, including some of the barrier islands or some of the construction materials, etc. The development of a good governance structure to capture the benefits of these combined projects really is important to, those are what ultimately can lead to these synergistic solutions to really multiple problems that occur at the same time. We're seeing more and more of these, multi-business line projects that now provide benefits to navigation, that can provide benefits to coastal storm risk reduction, benefits to ecosystem restoration. When you build a barrier island, the ecosystem restoration value is extensive as well. And even some benefits directly to climate adaptation and resiliency as storms become more intense. And then, considering that each of these topics can be quite complex on their own, ensuring that there's a governance structure that's set in place to fund and justify these kind of combined solutions rather than these individual projects is really an important initiative, I think, to consider and implement for the waterway or port manager.
Excellent. Thank you, Calvin. That was a great answer too. Question for Bernice. How is the project in Suriname being funded, and what measures are in place to ensure financial sustainability, actually?
Okay, so as you saw in our presentation, there's a structure, a certain structure that we have for gaining revenue, gaining some compensation from the users, but also we have a financial structure where the lowest income is based on our cargo. So actually, there will always be finances available for the payment of the project. When drafting the contract as well, you should take certain things into account, because sometimes you have a contract, but the financials exceeds rapidly if you don't take everything into account. So some of the aspects we should take a look at, or for example, and these are conditions that can affect the finances, or for example, oil prices, the sedimentation itself, because these are the two things that or incidents that you have to take into account when drafting the contract. And you have to have margins within the contract that actually you do not exceed that. But also you have to have how do you call it, research, extensive research with regards to your sedimentation rate as well, so that you do not exceed. So those are some aspects. I think the FIDIC Blue and Green Book describes a lot of that, those issues that you can deal with. And if you actually flip the contract details and have mitigations in place, then your project financial should be stable. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Bernice. That was actually very interesting. And I have a question now for Rodrigo. Rodrigo, you mentioned so far like the benefits of dredging and maintaining these rivers, but what would you consider would be the main benefits of sustainable dredging in Brazil?
Thank you, Sabina. I think I can answer this with a lot of words, but I will simple my answer in three lines, and of course we can discuss after. But I think the main benefits coming from the sustainable dredging, the use of this, and the rational decision to make this is save lives, save nature, and save money. I think this is the three lines that we have to put on our minds. Because for Brazil, I think it's we have a lot of lands, a lot of rivers, a lot of challenges, but lack of money. Unfortunately, we are developing nation. So I think this is the main thing. When you do sustainable dredging, you are saving lives, you are saving nature, you are saving money. So I think this is our focus here.
Awesome. Thank you, Rodrigo, so much. Actually, I'm gonna hop on to another question for you, Rodrigo, that we have from the audience, and
Okay.
it's how was the fuel consumption lowered for the Brazil projects? Is this lower consumption in relation to road transport?
Yes, exactly this. What we do is we calculate the fuel consumption per tons of cargo transported by truck versus the tons of cargo transported by vessels, and that's the relation. That's our index.
Perfect, thank you. And I have one last question for Calvin that says, how contaminated sediment fits into that beneficial sediment reuse goal of 70-30? Is 70% of all dredged sediment able to be beneficially used? And what are some sustainable uses for contaminated sediment that haven't been adequately researched or get overlooked?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have a legacy of each port has a kind of a legacy, a history, and it is unfortunate when we have the challenges associated with contaminated sediments. So we have guidance in terms of how to address contaminated sediments, especially in confined disposal facilities. But I think that is one of the big challenges in order to be able to have 100% beneficial reuse as well. There are going to be projects that create a greater challenge to beneficial reuse of sediments, especially when we are dealing with contaminated sediments. We want to make sure that the environment is addressed. We want to make sure that we're addressing the environmental legacies that have occurred in the past. And so addressing those in a sustainable and an equitable fashion is one of the goals of some of the confined disposal facilities as well. So thank you for that question.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. And I do have one more question that I leave it open for the three of you if you want to answer. It's related to how sustainability is also important when selecting the right equipment and overall operational cost of dredging. So what considerations are you using right now to select the right equipment? I don't know, whichever you want to go ahead, you may go ahead. Bernice, go ahead.
Yes. So for selection of the right equipment, you have to take a look at your in environmental condition. That is one, because if you have rough waves or strong current, then you have to consider which dredging technology you will be using. Is it near the coast? What type of sediment do you have? Is it rocky? So it depends on your sediment, what type of and your environmental conditions, what type of dredging technology you'll be using.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bernice, for that answer. I don't know if Calvin or Rodrigo want to add some answer. If not, I have another question for Rodrigo.
Just to discuss just the optimism I think that we have in the area of alternative fuels and vessels that are looking at different equipment types that are going to create more sustainable approaches to dredging. The advances in technology has been very encouraging, and extremely optimistic to see what the future is bringing in this area. So very much appreciate that question.
Awesome. Thank you. So, Rodrigo, I have another question for you. The question is, what alternatives are there to keep the Paraguay River navigable despite of the lack of rain in the Pantanal? This is actually very interesting because it came up in other conferences on waterways where they were saying like, well, if there's a lack of rain, I can keep dredging, but I have the same amount of water. So go ahead, please.
Well, it's an excellent question, and I think I will counting on Calvin to answer this as well, because I know Calvin are studying with us this issue. I start to say that our main focus is to really understand the river, really understand the system, and to know some kind of modeling, having a hydraulic model of the system, just to understand where we and how we can impact in the better way the river. So of course we have some how can I say, some structures or some tools that we have on our box to use. Dredge is one of them, definitely, but I think prior to be dredging we have to do more researches, do more bathymetries, and really understand the behavior of the river. Because I showed there we have 700 meters in media of the in this width of the river. So we are using approximately 100 meters. So we have to deep this this width, not the whole river. So we have this experience, in Mississippi as well. Mississippi has, of course, Calvin could say more than this, but Mississippi has facing these dry seasons, and besides the dry season, the U.S. could benefit from the navigation on the Mississippi, even in the dry season. So we can use. We have to know better the river. We have to do more research. We have to do more bathymetry, and of course, do the dredges in where it results. It to have a good result, and to dispose of material the consciently in the points that we can, of course, doing this, and maybe some if we can put some guiding structures. The Calvin and Yuzasi has experience in doing this training structures on the river that guides the river to the channel, and it makes an own dredging. I think, but Calvin, if you could help me on this answer, or could share your experience on this, but I think it's really challenging for us use. Of course, there is a limit on all of this, because you need water, of course. If without water, we don't have a river, and you go to the rail or roadways. But I think we have enough room to do interventions and of course use the river.
Yeah, and excellent answer, Rodrigo. And I would like to jump in on that as well. For example, the Paraguay-Paraná system. I think that the entire hemisphere is really looking at that as kind of the integrated river system within the continent of South America right now. And so right now, I really think it's important for us to consider that system approach for the development and the operations and maintenance of the navigation channels for the Paraguay-Paraná system. Together with the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, PIANC has developed a classification system for South American waterways. And it's really based upon 3 tiers, the systematic approach. The first tier is understanding, like Rodrigo Portugues said, understanding the physical conditions of the system. What are the physical parameters for drafts and design vessels and overall waterway widths for the system. But the second, I think, is really key is on the level of service. What is the appropriate and optimized level of service to be able to design the channel in the context of these extreme droughts? We know that, providing and designing the navigation channel for those last percentage points of reliability are the most expensive percentage points for reliability. And so how do we optimize the reliability within again, an optimized level of service? And the third tier of the classification system is exactly on this topic. It's what is the sustainability of the system? And that includes institutional sustainability, environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, as well as social sustainability. And so I think that there's a really great initiative going on right now together with ECLAC and CPAL with PIANC on looking at this exact question. But it really comes down to optimizing the level of service where we can balance those benefits across environment, society, as well as economics.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you both. I do have one last question. I promise this is the last one because I know our speakers are very busy people and they were so kind to put aside some time in their agenda for this webinar. But I think it's very important, this question is that does it exist a certification for the use of sustainable dredging?
That's a good question. We do a lot of training, globally with both the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as well as PIANC, and we provide professional development hours within that. I think that as we continue to advance in this field, the idea of a certification for projects would be excellent. PIANC, one certification that we have done and we have achieved in the context of sustainable dredging here in South America is the Working with Nature certification. And that was applied to the Rio Madeira system that Rodrigo Portugues presented. And that's really showing how working with the river and incorporating a sustainable dredging program, it's certified through PIANC as a Working with Nature program. And so that I think the most appropriate place to investigate a certification as it exists now would be through the PIANC Working with Nature. But I love that question. I love that question. I think there's a good opportunity to continue to advance specific to sustainable dredging.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that now that we're requesting our ports to have environmental certifications in another aspects, I think that we could add also on the dredging aspect of sustainability. There are other questions, but I'm going to ask the audience that if you want, you have my email, I'll put it back in the chat and I can contact you with our speakers who I'm sure, I don't know if I'm going too much ahead, but I'm sure they will be glad to answer them through email. Well, thank you, the three of you, so much for a wonderful webinar. I think that we can all agree that we learned too much from them and so much from them. And I asked them if they would like to add something or say some final words before I give the floor to Jorge for the closing remarks.
Just thank you very much. Thank you.
So Jorge, go ahead.
I want to thank our speakers, obviously, and let's take this opportunity to give them the floor so they can say goodbye and give any additional information or contact information that they wish. We'll start with the lady. Bernice, please.
Yes, thank you very much. My email address, I'll be adding it in the chat. So if you would like some further information, please contact me.
Thank you, Bernice. Rodrigo.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jorge. Thank you, Sabina. And thank you, all of our listeners here. And we are open to share with you and answer the questions as well. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you. Calvin?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank again SIP and OAS for organizing this and the other speakers. I learned a lot. Really appreciated the governance structure that you presented, Bernice. And I really appreciate, Rodrigo, how you said it. It's about lives, it's about the environment, it's about making good economic decisions, and that's really what we all want to do together. So I think that was a great summary. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for participating, everyone.
Yes, thank you. I had made small summaries of each of your presentations, but we are running long, and I will not be able to give everybody a little abstract of the most salient points of your presentations. I usually do that at the end, but we are very late, and I have a call in 4 minutes. So again, my friends, thank you very much. Thank you, Sabina, for moderating, and Monica and Martin Santillan for Real ID. I remind our audience that the presentations with the authorization of the speakers will be available on the SIP portal, and I wrote that on the chat as of tomorrow. And I see Rodrigo's writing stuff in the chat. So thank you very much. We will have this and the recording of the webinar tomorrow at the portal. Indeed, there are many aspects that I would have liked to have the time to address. The different type of sediments. What do you do with the sediments? What equipment should you use that the equipment itself is not polluting the environment? The different strategies for taking care of the habitat of the different ecological systems that are in the rivers, but also in the oceans. And while we spoke mostly about river dredging, where rivers are usually soft sediment and silt in the bottom, and then what you can do with that resource. But let's not forget that unless you have a deep water port, you will also need to dredge in the oceans, in the seaports that we manage, and that is completely different approach to dredging in the ocean than it is in the rivers. And perhaps we'll have an opportunity to next year do another webinar with you all so that we can continue tackling. I saw the audience making interesting questions, and I'm sorry that we don't have the time, nor is it our philosophy to answer all the questions from the audience. But I think that people who stayed at the very end, we still have 86 people here and some on the live YouTube transmission. That shows you the interest of the people in the topic, which is very patent and real, because it is something that we all must do. We must all dredge. So let's make sure that we do it in the best way possible, as the different presentations show, both economically, socially, and most importantly, environmentally. So with that, I bid you all goodbye, and I'll see you all in the next webinar. Again, thank you, Bernice. Thank you, Savi, for the moderation, and Calvin, and Rodrigo, Monica, and Martin. Hugs, everybody. Keep your calendars open for our next event, which I believe will be in August 22nd or thereabouts. You will get an invitation email like we did today. So thank you all. I wish you well, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. For our speakers, we'll be moved to a different session, if that's okay, if you can hold for 5 minutes.